Hey guys, welcome to the October 2015 edition of Budget MTG. This is a monthly series I do here on the Nitsahone Magic channel, where I talk about a deck that's on a relative budget, compared to what one usually pays for a competitive Tier 1 deck. And it's a deck that's sort of intended for you to play at your Friday Night Magic or wherever, and it can compete with the Tier 1 decks usually. And that's kind of the point of the series. Show you guys the deck here in the deck video, and then I play 3 matches against Tier 1 opponents in the 2-man queues on Magic Online. And then this month is a standard deck. It's a variant of Jeskai tokens, which used to exist a little more than it does now. But it's a deck that basically results out of the fact that I think there are 2 cards that are like Tier 1 caliber that are criminally underplayed right now in standard. And those are Ojutai Exemplars, a 4-mana 4/4 who has that cool modal ability where he can tap guys down, give himself first strike and lifelink, or make him blink himself so he can dodge removal or whatever. Anytime you play a non-creature spell, and also Secure the Waste, the other criminally underplayed rare in standard right now. X and a white, put X/1/1 white warrior creature tokens on the battlefield. It's just a great card. It's a great way to, sort of have insurance against your opponent playing Languish or whatever against your aggro deck. And you can just, have Secure the Wastes, in your back pocket ready to go when you're sort of expecting that to come out of your opponent. It can also just help you win the game in a turn where your opponent just doesn't see it coming at all. And so the deck, I wanted to make a deck that these 2 cards would be especially good in. And the deck I ended up on was a deck featuring Jeskai Ascendancy, which gives bonuses to creatures for +1/+1 to all your creatures and untaps them every time you play a non-creature spell. And it lets you draw a card and then discard a card every time you do it as well. So the deck, has creatures with prowess in it, and token generators, and, really efficient removal and burn, and that's sort of the whole deck. So I'll go through and talk about some of it. There are 4 wild slashes in the deck. I like it a lot because it's, it does 2 damage. For 1 mana, which is always really efficient, does it at instant speed, and you can also hit your opponent in the face with it if you need to use that to finish them. There are 3 fiery impulses. I opted for 3 of them instead of 4 because it can't hit the opponent in the face. There is a 4th one in the sideboard, as I'll show you. There are some matchups where the potential for it to do 3 damage is enough of an upside that you'd rather have it than some of the other cards in the deck. Then there's Monastery Swiftspear, which is basically a staple in any standard red deck right now. 1 mana, 1/2 with haste and prowess, and our deck can really take advantage of that. As you see, it says we only have 15 creatures, 23 non-creatures, and that really helps us hit prowess. Seeker of the Way, another very good prowess creature, a 2 mana 2/2 who can gain lifelink. This deck can gain a lot of life, which can put it out of range of more aggressive decks and create problems for them. Abbot of Corral Keep, another basically a staple in any red deck in standard right now. 2 mana for a 2/1 who lets you exile the top card of your library, and you can play that until end of turn. There's lots of 1-drops in the deck, as you can see, and then of course there's lands. And so most of the time it's safe to play it on like turn 2, either if you have a land in your hand or you want to hit a land. And then you can play a spell with it a lot of times. But the upside of a 2 mana 2/1 with prowess is also pretty good. I only mainboard 1 roast right now. It's good against stuff like Siege Rhino, of course, but I like only having 1 in the main board. I opt more, as much as I can, for instant speed removal because it works best with our prowess and our Ojutai Exemplars and our Jeskai Ascendancy when our opponent isn't 100% sure how big our creatures are going to be when they hit them or when they block them. A new addition from Battle for Zendikar is Stasis Snare. I've mainboarded 2 of those. It's great because it can be flashed in, unlike Banishing Light. Something that makes it not quite as good as Banishing Light is it cannot hit any permanent, non-land permanent. It can only hit creatures. Then there's, of course, Hordling Outburst to help make the tokens and also fuel the prowess. Jeskai Ascendancy, Ojutai Exemplars engine, which all likes to have tokens in play. We have the Ascendancies, which I already mentioned. I only mainboard 1 Jeskai Charm. I think for a while I had 3 Jeskai Charms and no Stasis Snares before Stasis Snare was on Magic Online, but I decided I liked the Stasis Snare enough more because of the impact it can have. It can help you deal with Hangerback Walker, for example, a card that Jeskai Charm can sort of deal with, but not real effectively. Stasis Snare can also deal with Siege Rhino. Jeskai Charm, putting a Siege Rhino on top of your opponent's library isn't exactly what you want to be doing. I do have 2 more in the sideboard, Jeskai Charms that is, for if we want them. I also talk about the mana base some. We have 4 Battlefield Forges and 4 Shivan. Actually, there's only 2 Shivan Reefs. No, there's 3. There's 3 Shivan Reefs, 2 Swiftwater Cliffs. There's lots of non-basics in it. So the new battle lands don't work so well in here. Then we have the Gain Lands, Tranquil Cove, Windscarred Crag. There's Mystic Monastery, of course, and then a few basics. And there's only about 22 lands in the deck. The curve's low enough. I think that's fine. I'll also talk about the sideboard now. I have 2 Valorous stances to side in against people who are running, the Tastigers and the Siege Rhinos of the world. 2 more Stasis Snares. It's great to side in against anyone running Hangerback Walker because it's one of the few cards that can actually deal with Hangerback Walker. The 4th Fiery Impulse for matchups where the ability to do 3 damage is more relevant. It's also good in matchups where Roast is just bad. Against more aggressive decks who just don't have creatures with 5 toughness for us to kill, it's better to just bring in a 4th Fiery Impulse so that we can kill their creatures more effectively. Rending Volleys to use against all of the blue and white decks out there that play, counter spells that make it harder to kill their creatures. A 2nd Roast to be brought in against people playing Siege Rhino and Tassiger, just like the Valorous Stance. Outpost Siege for the grindier control matchups where we're having, it's harder for us to get ahead because our opponent keeps gaining card advantage on us. Outpost Siege can help us gain more card advantage. 2 Jeskai Charms. It's, best against opponents who don't have creatures with enter the battlefield abilities because obviously putting, as I said, a Siege Rhino on top of your opponent's library isn't ideal. It's also good against more aggressive opponents, sometimes more so than Stasis Snare, because the ability to give your whole team lifelink and +1/+1 is pretty huge, especially when you have a ton of tokens and a ton of creatures with prowess or, pseudo prowess like Ojutai Exemplars in play. Then also a couple of negates to side in. Bring to Light is a card right now in Standard, and this can help deal with that. And it's also good against opponents where I feel like it's likely they either side in or already have a lot of board sweepers in the deck. Anyway, that's the deck. I'll play 3 matches with it now on Magic Online in the 2-man queues to show you how it competes with Tier 1. Also, I need to show you guys about what it costs as of this moment, and it's about mid-October as I'm recording this. And this is what the deck costs now, $36.50. A lot of that's wrapped up in Abbot of Corral Keep. A third of the deck's value, in fact, is wrapped up there, but the card is just so important for the deck. I tried having the deck get by without it for a while, running Majoring Bully, and it just wasn't enough. The Abbot's just so much better because it draws you a card, doesn't have to attack every turn, things like that. So I'd say that card is pretty necessary for the deck. If you want to cut money somewhere, it might be easier to cut things like Roast out of the sideboard and Valorous Stance out of the sideboard than it is to get rid of Abbot of Corral Keep. The Exemplars are actually pretty cheap, as is Secure the Wastes, because as I said, they're kind of criminally underplayed. Stasis Snare is likely to go down in value the longer Battle for Zendikar is out, at least on Magic Online. It'll probably be a 3 or 4 cent uncommon, by the end of November or so. So you could wait on it if you wanted to. But anyway, that's the deck. It's under 40 tickets, which is a pretty good budget deal for a deck that is actually pretty competitive. I've already tested it a lot, and it does a really good job against Tier 1. And now I'll record some matches and show that to you firsthand. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy the other videos in this playlist.